So let's talk about these three guys who are held out of the lineup: Ekman-Larsson, Lawton, Bobby McMahon. What would be a successful trade deadline for this team, Craig, in your opinion?
Yeah, the writing's on the wall, and the reality is there. And I love quoting Nathan McKinnon now after he talked about losing that gold medal game. He goes, "You can't fight reality." And for the Leafs, the reality is simply this: they got to look to the future. So what would a successful deadline look like? Getting picks. Getting some prospects. Some B prospects is probably what you're going to get, but if you can get some bodies that are closer to playing in the NHL, some prospects that you believe in, that's something they got to do, because the prospect cupboard is just about empty. The draft pick drawer is pretty much empty.
Yep.
So anything now that Brad Treliving can do, and this is an opportunity right here, right now at the trade deadline. There's going to be other opportunities, but what you can try to take advantage of here is other teams' eagerness to add players. They're making a push for the playoffs. They're making a push to go deeper in the playoffs. Take advantage of that. Get picks, get some prospects, and start the process. This is not the only time for him to do this, but it's an important time for him to maximize this time and take advantage of teams that are really anxious to have players, because they're not going to be in the same boat in the off season. So this is his time to start that process and to try to build those areas up.
And we didn't even mention Nick Waugh. And, you know, you talked about Jason Dickinson being this excellent shutdown defensive center. So with the Oilers acquiring Jason Dickinson, have the Leafs lost a potential suitor for Nick Waugh?
Well, I mean, you hear things like this is a buyer's market. Well, this is a good example, right? So you're probably engaged in trying to see, okay, who wants a third-line center? Brad Treliving would be talking to a number of teams, and now you see a guy fall off, and they go, okay, well, Edmonton's out, right?
Right.
So now you got to go spend your time trying to find out where they could be. I think Nick Waugh would be a great addition to any team trying to add. He's got another year left on his contract. The money's reasonable. He's got that winning pedigree, and he can really fit on a team. He would have been a great fit in Edmonton. Maybe it wasn't something that they could make work, but at the same time, Nick Waugh and Scott Lawton, two guys that could fit that bill, now you got one less team.
You mentioned it. The cupboard is bare, prospect-wise and pick-wise. So in your mind specifically, what do you want to see this team get for these players? Prospects or picks, or maybe both? Yeah,
I think it depends. Like, why don't we start with Oliver Ekman-Larsson? I think Oliver Ekman-Larsson is probably their most valuable player in this whole group. I mean, how well he's played this year, everything he does for the game, his contract is awesome. He's got 2 years left, and I think he'd be a great fit. Bobby McMahon, he's an unrestricted free agent. The money's good. These are players that you can go at. We talked about Nicolas Roy. We talked about Scott Lawton. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs gave up a first-round pick for Scott Lawton. I don't think they're getting a first-round pick back for Scott Lawton, but can you get a second-round pick? Where else deeper down the thing? Max Domi, Calle Yarncroc, like, are these guys that you can look at? Brandon Carlo, I think they have to open up their mind to. They ended up getting Brandon Carlo. Would there be teams interested in getting Brandon Carlo? But those are, everybody's going to bring back something different. You're not getting A prospects. You're simply not. I don't think there's first-round draft picks there. Maybe for Oliver Ekman-Larsson, you know, something that's contingent.
Sure.
But there's some different value in these players with prospects and draft picks, and that's why the opportunity with other teams going, okay, we need this, and then as other teams acquire a player, and then, oh, that player's off the board. Okay, now we got to go to this team, and we got to go after that guy. This is opportunity now for Brad Treliving. You like to get your work done as quick as possible,
sure,
but you don't want to compromise your chances for getting the best return. Brad Treliving is sitting in a good spot.